Hey guys, welcome to episode 18 of season 5 of the Chantizzy Podcast. I just want to say thank you for everyone jumping in on Tizzy Time this season. A big thank you to all of my guests, a big thank you to all of my supporters and listeners, and more importantly, the biggest thank you to you guys. Without you guys, I would not have been able to go through with season 5. Like I tell everybody when I started the podcast, even upwards until midway within the podcast, I was telling people that I really wanted to quit and I didn't want to do this anymore. But shout outs to all the amazing co-hosts, guests, those who pushed me to continue recording, those listening this season. I mean, you guys have truly made season 5 worth it. For me to be for me to have started this podcast in 2018 and here we are 7 years later still with it, it's really a blessing. Clearly I should have 7 seasons by now, but I only have 5. However, I mean, I'm big on quality over quantity. So the past 5 seasons, tripping over my words. The past 5 seasons have been very instrumental on not only building Tizzy Talks, but building my creative agency, 90 Degree Digital, and also last but not least, of course, any other businesses or projects I have in the pipeline. So I feel like that's a great segue of what we're going to talk about in this episode. The first is what we learned this season. We're going to talk about key lessons that we learned, not only through my own personal growth, but through our guests this season. We're also going to share any surprising things I learned from, any episodes or any specific episodes, or what I've learned from your feedback. And then last but not least, of course, I'm going to talk about how I've grown, not only through my mindset, but through my creative process and my goals. Then once we're done with that, we're going to go forward and talk about where I'm at really, where I really talk about my mental. That's a mix, guys, between emotional and mental. But where I talk about my mental health, my emotional health, my spiritual health, and my creative health, but also talk about how that has immensely impacted me. I also want to talk about the pressure, the peace, the wins, the burnouts, whatever else comes with being a creative. And then, of course, I want to end this episode with giving a few awards. I have a few episode-based awards, host-based awards that I do want to give out and shout out to those guests. And if I didn't call you, please do not feel any type of way. I just really am thankful for the people I've had on this podcast. It's just been so huge. The Chantizzy Podcast, within, not only doing what it is I wanted to do, but just continuing to push through it. I mean, again, like I said, I started this in college. I was 18. I was 20 years old when I started this podcast, and I knew it was something that I really wanted to do. I was passionate about, something I knew that can aid other creatives like myself or other entrepreneurs or those just trying to find a way. I know that this platform was going to be the one to do it. Unfortunately, I definitely thought it would be way bigger than it is. Not mad about it though. But Spotify, whenever you guys are ready, I'm ready. iHeartRadio, whenever you're ready, I'm ready. Any other podcast platforms, Dave Portnoy and Barstool, I'm ready. But it's definitely been a journey. It's been something that I've been passionate about from the beginning. And I'm just so thankful that I'm still here in 2025 doing it. So before I get all sappy and emotional, let's jump in. So what I learned this season, first and foremost, I learned that everybody has their passions, and there are a lot of creatives out there like myself who love what they do, not only in areas, of course, of social media, marketing, things of that nature, but within comedy, within, So what I learned this season, not only from myself, but from my guests, is to have patience, to be to be dexterous in what it is you do, because it's your passion, it's something you love to do. So that can be in areas regardless of comedy, that can be areas of wellness, that can be areas of, the hospitality industry. It could be in the areas of cybersecurity. It could be in the area of publishing. I mean, there's so many areas where you can push very hard, but also grow. But also understand that it takes patience, not only within yourself, but within your spirituality, within your emotional state, within your mental state, to grow your business the way you want, or even grow your platform the way you want it grown. And I'm really thankful for my guests this season, for showing me what that looks like. Key lessons I learned from these topics. One of my favorite conversations had to be with Shanti Fire. Shanti taught me so much about what it is to unpack, not only within people, but within, your journal. Just going forward and being able to journal and expand on what that is, to write, to indulge, to really put it all on paper. And of course, I'm a big journaling girl. I used to journal all the time when I was a teen, but to talk about how in a mental health space journaling can help, I was super excited about that podcast. And we're going to expand on that later when I give Shanti her award. But I just thought it was a great area to expand on why it is important to not hold on, but to pour out. And whether that be in a journal, whether that be in singing, dancing, creating, whatever have you, I feel like that was an amazing lesson to be learned. Some surprising things I learned from my own episodes was so many ways on how the publishing industry aids in creativity or aids in, a creative's journey. I mean, I didn't even know there was a portion in publishing where you can do it yourself. I never knew you can self-publish. So not only did Stacy teach me that, but also just going forward and hearing that from Clermont Publishing, it was such an honor to hear about how big the publishing industry is and how you can also go independent. Besides that, of course, in the music industry or through, entrepreneurship, you can be independent in a publishing game. So I feel like that was something very surprising that I learned through my guests. And honestly, I really had no idea that you could self-publish. It literally put a little fire under my toot to go forward and start writing some screenplays, writing some scripts, also going forward, doing anything for stage, small, I was about to say small films, like a small business, but short films, shorts, even going forward and animating. These are areas that I really dip my toe in, not only in college, but within my young adulthood. And to be able to have a full circle moment where I can still engage and implement those things into my work, I think that's amazing. Um, and then, of course, it says that, how can I go forward and use the things that I learned to shift my mindset, my creative process, or my goals? I mean, I feel like I've already been pushing and practice versus theory. I mean, I've been able to not only from these industry leaders learn what it is to be in their industry, but I've taken a practice to learn about different industries. I mean, me going forward and attending, Possible Con in Miami at the end of April, just coming off of Tribeca Film Festival, something I've always dreamed as. Within a little girl, something I've always wanted to do, not only within high school, but within my career as an adult. So to be able to do that, and off the emphasis of Tizzy Talks, it's really been such a journey, and not only a journey, a learning lesson, because it's put me in a bubble to know, yes, it may be scary, yes, it may be hard, but that does not mean it can't be done. So not only have my podcast guests taught me that this season, they have actually pushed me to, be in a deep end, not literally, but figuratively. Like, don't be afraid. Don't be scared. Really push yourself to be the best person you can. And within that, I mean, I feel like I've been, working on that, not only again within theory, but heavily within practice. So that piggybacks into where I'm at really. Where I'm at really mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and creatively, they're all different tiers. So let's start with mentally. Mentally, I've really been putting God first, pushing the marker of positivity through my creativity as well, and through my spirituality as well, to understand that, okay, everything may not go my way, or everything might not be done in the time frame I want it done, but it's going to get done, whether I push myself or whether I wait for God to instill that within me, right? I've also learned that, within being spiritually inclined, you have to be emotionally inclined. There's going to be so many attacks happening to you as a spiritually aligned person that your emotions can get out of whack. It can be out of check, and they may need to be checked. So I feel like emotional and spiritually and mentally, I'm at a much better place than I was when I was starting this season. And even 2 years ago, 3 years ago on this podcast, I just feel like I've really evolved past, hey, I've lost this job, or hey, I was living in Florida, or hey, I was living in Georgia, to now being able to say, hey, I went forward and I did Tribeca Film Festival. or, I'm about to go forward and attend this big event in the next 2 months. So just to be able to immerse myself in pushing myself versus being fatigued or giving up or being melancholy when things don't go my way, I've just learned to take it on the head, and I've learned to push through regardless of how I'm feeling, right? Also creatively, I feel like creatively, I said creatively, but creatively, I feel like I've expanded so much. I've always had a passion for what I do, but now I really get up in the morning excited to jump on Adobe Creative Suite, to jump on CapCut, to jump on Adobe Premiere, to jump on Canva, to jump on Airtable, to jump on Linktree, to jump on the socials and really spread the knowledge or the mindset I have onto my audience, but also within social. I feel like there's so many people I haven't reached yet, excuse me. I also feel like I'm only continuing to grow. I had looked at a graphic I had did 2 years ago. And then I had seen a graphic I had did in 2018 for a peer at the time who wanted to start a drink business. And man, from there to now, I mean, I feel like the graphic I created 6 years ago, I could do with my eyes closed. And I wouldn't even do anything like that anymore because I found a real passion behind my art. So even just giving something that I guess subpar would have bothered me. But now I'm in a place where I'm giving sublime work. So I'm really excited about that. It says talk about, and I'm like, I'm reading from a prompt. Well, I wouldn't say a prompt, but a few prompts I wrote down for the end of this episode. But it states, talk about the pressure to peace, the wins, the burnout. Man, I really felt burnout heavily the past 2 days. I mean, I've been going back and forth during Tribeca. Excuse me. And it's really overwhelmed me so much so that I literally was twitching. My left eye was jumping like Kiki Palmer and jump in. Not only that, I had to also deal with, just being heavily fatigued. But I really have really bad FOMO. So it'll be 2 in the morning and I'll be like, all right, I finally could relax. But then there'll be something along the lines of, all right, you could get this done beforehand. You don't have to wait till tomorrow. Get it done in advance. You don't want the content to get old and stale, or you don't want people to not be worrying about it anymore. But I had seen a post today, funny enough, when I felt like I was just moving in, extra 3 times speed when I felt like I really need to be in 1 time speed. It ultimately talked about God saying like, hey, God's plan is to be slow and steady while, the worldly plan is to be fast, to get it out, to do what it needs to be done. So I've just really been taking that message and heeding that into my art because listen, an artist, and I saw another post too, it stated about Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa took 4+ years, and it's art. Even talking about the documentary I seen yesterday by my friend Spring, she went forward and talked about NFTs. She talked about crypto. She talked about AI and any other digital technologies that we're expanding on within society. And it was a portion of the movie that had stated, ultimately, dang, I just had a blank and it was on the top of my head, but it was just talking about, just going forward and you know there it is, I just got it again. But the main emphasis of the film was someone who sold the NFT for almost $70 million through the Christie's auction, by the name of Beeples. And Beeples had been working on his work for 5,000 days. So if we do a quick division into 5,000 days of work within a year, right, he had been working on his work for 13 years, right? um so I just find that, and honestly, almost 14 years, 13 years and 6 months. So just to be able to see that being pushed, I mean, everything is in due time. And it's really put me in a bubble of stop trying to rush myself and stop trying to look for the perfect opportunity and just do it. Somebody's going to love it. I mean, Beeple's 13, 14 years ago, in 2021, did you think in 2004 or 5 he would be able to talk about selling his digital art? Absolutely not. So I just think that it's so many signs and so many areas of expansion that God has been showing me. And, I feel like I'm in the right place. I just need to slow down and have patience and realize it's not on my time, it's on God's time. So definitely a lot of burnout. Can be transparent about that. I mean, I feel like every creative has burnout, but I also feel like burnout is part of the process. So I'm really thankful that, I have those wins, but also that burnout because it keeps me grounded. The pressure. I mean, it's pressure every day. It's so many people doing what I do. Um the market is super saturated, especially what it is I do. I mean, I have so many friends, not only who have creative agencies as well, but I also have other peers who are in the journalistic game. And, at first it seems like, hey, you're copying me or you're taking my shine. But it's like, we all can win, and I've never been a jealous person. I've never been a person to feel like, hey, this is meant for me to do more than you. But I just feel like we're in an area of collaboration. We're in a area of community. We're in the area of, collaboration, community, and compassion. So I feel like, I've always been the person willing and open to network, not only with others, but to partner. I mean, I feel like if we're all doing the same thing, or, your strength is stronger than this area than mine is, I feel like that's when I would go forward and engage with someone and talk to somebody about what that looks like. I mean, for example, I do web design, I do web generation. That's something I could do. But I have a friend who I met who's literally 4 or 5 years younger than me. He has an entire company centric around that. He also does SEO, and SEO is not my strong suit. I can be transparent. Can I do it? Yes. Can I generate a website? Yes. But if he is the GOAT and it is what he does, why wouldn't I reach out to that person for help? Why wouldn't I reach out to that person for community, collaboration, and compassion? So I just feel like that's something that has been big in pressure. But again, I have an answer for that pressure. That's not something I would go forward and say, hey, I'm overwhelmed, or, it's so pressuring, or it's super pressure to go forward and have to compete. I find a competition healthy. I love seeing it. And I don't see it as, again, competition, it's community to me. So that's what I would say about pressure. The peace, man, when I find it, I'll let you guys know. I was just talking to somebody the other day. I'm like, man, I can't wait to be in a place where my business is doing $1 million years, where I don't have to reach out to a client to pay, where I don't have to, cold call or market, or, do anything as heavy as I am now. I can't wait to be in a position where I have a team, where I can hire employees, where I can really focus on what it is my true passions lie in, and have someone, assist me with the things I love to do as well, but not too heavy in, right? So I'm looking for the peace. I really am, you guys. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm ultimately looking for it. But yeah, like I said, when you guys find the peace, we can chat. But as of now, I haven't found any peace within it. Um, yeah, very true. But again, I just want to thank everybody again from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for all the guests that joined. A big thank you for the big response from Threads. So I have to definitely thank Threads. I mean, without Threads, there would have been no season 5. So I really appreciate all the people who reached out to be guests. I do apologize for those I haven't gotten in contact with, or was too late, or was shifty, or didn't remember. Again, I am a creative. I maintain over 4 or 5 businesses. I have clients as well. So those who bared with me, I really do appreciate it. I also feel like we were aligned to speak. Because even those who I spoke with, sometimes we had to reschedule 2, 3 times. So I appreciate you guys being so patient. But yes, this is the part of the show where I usually ask guests to start introducing themselves, our little halfway point, telling us about themselves, their business, any upcoming news. So right now, I don't really have any big upcoming news. Well, I would say I will. Well, Tizzy Talks has, like I said, did Tribeca. We're about to start, doing interviews in a studio-based setting. God's willing, by the end of this year, I'm speaking it now, I'll have my studio space, where I can be able to not only have a space where we set up recordings and have people come and do interviews for Tizzy Talks, but have an intimate setting. It's also been in my mind to shift the Chantizzy podcast to the Tizzy Talks podcast. But I feel like that's counterproductive because I already have Tizzy Talks where it is kind of like a setting of a podcast, but I don't want that to be a setting of a podcast. I want that to be very similar to what I aspire to be like one day, and that's either Oprah or Billy on the Street, right? So those would be my two goals within Tizzy Talks. Having a combo of Billy Eichner, which is Billy on the Street, Oprah, the intimacy and the engagingness of it, and then last but not least, the late night show. So different segments, a live band, being able to sit down with talent, whether it be, a person whose dog could jump and bark bitch, or, somebody who is, a 12-time Academy Award winning recipient, So those are the three things I hope to implement into Tizzy Talks. The Chantizzy podcast, of course, I want it to be as simple as, of course, $1,000,000 worth of game, drink champs, call her daddy or call me daddy, whatever have you. But, it's a podcast that keeps people engaged and, has a bunch of guests where we talk about real life topics, but also, things that can be silly, that can be contradictory, things that can be conspiracies, just continuing on through that. I do have a platform, Tizzy Talks Reviews, that is fairly new. It used to be Lay Review, but I rebranded, and I feel like Tizzy Talks Review is a lot more authentic and aligns with Tizzy Talks. So I don't have to feel like it's a whole different segment from my businesses, but now engaging with, the main business, which is Tizzy Talks. On that platform, we review everything from food to live events to music, movies, TV, books. It's just an overall review platform. So if there's something you want reviewed, or if there's something you want to review with me, I would love to have someone go forward this summer and start, tasting these amazing restaurants, watching these amazing movies with me, doing these amazing things, I've never done. And I feel like that'll be fun. I was just about to say something. Oh, yes, I'll talk about when we're coming back towards the end. But look at me, I'm so obsessed with Tizzy Talks. I'm always talking about it. But the Chantizzy podcast will be on a 10-year, not a 10-year. A 10-year is when you have 10 years plus, but it will be on a hiatus. That's what I was looking for, or sabbatical. That's a good one too. But a hiatus until September. We usually do this all the time. We usually wrap up around May, come back in the fall. Eventually I'm hoping to do a Chantizzy podcast live where we have 2 live guests or 3 live guests, even 4, excuse me. And we do something along the lines that, entails challenges, entails, let's say, for example, couples counseling, that entails advice. I'm hoping to get that done before the end of the summer. I would love to have a season 6 launch party and do a Chantizzy podcast live. I would have to see the specifics of that. But if you are a videographer, if you work in audio video, if you work in production, if you are a production manager, or even know how to set up events that, entail live studio audiences, or entail, camera crew, audio, etc., I would love to talk to you about how we can get that done. And then, yeah, like I said, I talked about Tizzy Talks. I talked about the Chantizzy podcast and next steps within that. Tizzy Talks Reviews. And 90 Degree Digital. I'm hoping to start doing mini classes online where I go live once a month and talk to, invite industry leaders, but also other creatives to talk with those who are trying to learn more about those specific industries. So for example, getting a videographer to come up for an hour and talk about videography and, any tips and tricks, getting someone who is a fashion designer up there and talking about what it is to, be a fashion designer. But those are some of the areas I'm looking to expand on. I'm trying to think what else is there down the pipeline that I haven't spoke on. Oh, of course, marketing mini, still looking for schools to implement, of course, learning in the marketing area, through the creative area, through any digital media. Looking to, ultimately impact with the schools in Jersey, New York City, Connecticut, Pennsylvania. Open to hopefully letting this become a national thing. But for right now, of course, keeping it local. So New York and New Jersey, looking for schools or even teachers who would want, me to come to their classroom and expand for their students, whether 10 and up, or, let's say, for example, 12 and up, on how to implement, technology into their everyday. I mean, there's so many children who don't want to be doctors, lawyers, who don't want to work in a trade, who really want to be a streamer, who want to be a YouTuber, who want to be a content creator. And I feel like these are skills that are instrumental into what we will be, not only as society in the future, but can be mainstays on building a career within communication, within audio, video, within, photography. So I feel like these are important. But now, drum roll, we're going to give away some awards, okay? Some awards. And I have to start with the first award is the best tangent that somehow made sense. And I have to give that to Jay Jackson. Jay, I feel like I had to give this to us because we definitely went on so many tangents within our podcast, but they all align. So I feel like to give you the award for the best tangent that somehow made sense, it goes to you, Jay. Yay, congratulations, Jay. And guys, I'm going to also be posting this in graphic form. So when we announce the episode, please stay tuned because we're going to have little award brackets for you to repost on behalf of the Chantizzy Podcast, which is so exciting. Okay? And the reason I'm giving Jay that award is because it started as a story and then it entered into cybersecurity or the future of, AI. And then we talked about God and, being on a spirit-based mission. So, I mean, it was the best tangent. The next award is for the most unexpected topic I ended up obsessing over. And that goes to ShawntieRefugeJournals for talking about journaling through your pain and through your trauma, which I was just like, oh my gosh, yes. And a little background between me and Shanti, we had to keep rescheduling on my end. And it wind up being one of the conversations I did not want to get off the phone. I mean, we were an hour in and we were still unpacking on how journaling can aid in trauma as far as like trauma healing. And then the second person I would give that to is also Clermont Publishing. We were here talking about publishing and books and our favorites and what books we want to be movies and what movies we wanted to be books. And I just loved it. I loved it. It was something that I thought was going to be a 15 to 30-minute conversation about the topic, but wind up being a 2-3+ hour podcast. And me wind up, having an actual relationship with these people, not only from sharing their stuff, but just genuinely checking in. So I appreciate that. That goes to Clermont Publishing and Shanti Fire. Woo! The next award is for the deepest moment that almost had me crying on my mic, and that goes to Yennery. Me and Yennery spoke so much about just being your best self, spirituality, peace within ourselves, finding that area where we can be our best selves without having to worry about approval from others or judgment from others. So honestly, Yennery was my favorite podcast. We had such a great time, and I definitely give her the award for the deepest moment that almost had me crying in the mic, because yes, very much crying. The next award is for the funniest rant that went off the rails. And I definitely have to give that award to Lisa Ennis, my comedian queen from Queens. You like that, Lisa? I hope you like that. But my comedian queen from Queens, man, like we were just chatting and then we started talking about Diddy and cheesecake and juniors. Man, we went off the rails. It was so funny. And then we started ranting about New York and certain elements. So that definitely goes to Lisa. Thank you so much, Lisa. Again, my comedian queen from Queens. So you definitely get that award, the funniest rant that went off the rails. And I didn't think we didn't plan that rant, but it's something we clearly needed to get off our chest. The next award goes, can't even speak, you guys. But the next award is for a sleeper hit episode. So an episode I really did not think was going to do numbers, but did great numbers. And I thought it was super important. It was a topic that I know I'm very tedious on, but I didn't think others would be as tedious on. And the sleeper hit episode goes to my girl Rad. Rad, hey girly, you get the award for the sleeper hit episodes, Rad Occasions. The next award is for the most did I just say that out loud moment, and that has to go to Duro. Christian Christian Lacroix. Look, Christian, I hope I'm not pronouncing your name wrong, but is it? And I should be better because I've been on my Duolingo for French, s'il vous plaît. But Christian Lacroix, is it Lacroix or Lacroix? Lacroix. I'm gonna say Lacroix. But me and Christian were having a whole conversation about fashion, about, leaving one field to another. And I randomly was like, has anybody told you you look like Black? Because he kind of looks like Black to me, the artist, not the color or the skin color or, the hue. Actual, the artist Black. But if you guys possibly know him as Six Flag. But yeah, definitely had to go forward and tell him he looked like Six Flag. And Christian was like, well, I never heard that, but I've heard T.I. And it kind of made sense because I was like, yeah, T.I. back then from ATL. I was thinking about now T.I. with the locks and dad talking about superfluously or talking about expeditiously, not that T.I. We were talking about Tip. And yes, he did. So I thought that was, the funniest, most did I just say that out loud moment. So that goes to Duro. I have 3 more awards to give out, and then we're going to wrap up, talk about next steps, and, the next thing, basically the next, episodes, and, where can people listen to season 6, and if anybody's interested in being a guest for season 6. But the next episode is for the best off the cuff monologue, and that has to go to Lucy with the weights. Lucy was so cool. We were talking about literally everything from working out to first dates to, our tangent was everywhere, but it was the most comfortable conversation I've ever had. Lucy is great. She has the flyest haircut in the world. Like, she makes me want to cut my hair every day. But Lucy was great. I really enjoyed my time speaking with her. So she gets the award for the best off the cuff monologue. Because that was that one take, unedited, unscripted, that hit harder than a whole TED Talk. And it definitely did. We were chatting in a good way though. So the next award is for the episode that was therapy without the copay, and that goes to Lucas. Me and Lucas really unpacked and talked about triggers and trauma and how we overcome it, and how, I respected his thought process of, hey, it may not always be from a spiritual end, it may not always be from an emotional end. Sometimes your strength comes from within. And I really appreciated him giving me another perspective on overcoming. So, Lucas, you get the award for for therapy without the copay award. My apologies, I'm reading. And last but not least, our Note to Self Moment award goes to, or the episode that gets the award for the Note to Self moment is the award. Look at me, you guys. My mind is moving faster than my mouth. But the Note to Self Moment award goes to Stacey Agner. Stacey and I had such an important conversation. Shout outs to Stacey as well, because Stacey was one of the first people I had reached out to being on a podcast because she had a book that she was publishing. And I was super excited to read it. She gave me a little snippet. I read it in literally less than 2 hours. I was like, Stacey, I need more. But of course, she's busy. I'm busy. We never got in contact after that. But we wind up getting in contact maybe about a month, 2 months ago, where we were able to do her podcast. And man, Stacey not only taught me so much, she really pushed me to go for it. She told me how, one day she never expected to be publishing, but she started in a bookstore, worked there for 10 plus years. So I thought that was amazing that Stacey was able to talk about how far she's come. So she gets the amazing Note to Self moment, because not only did she give a note to self for herself, she gave a note to self for me. So I think that was super important. And those are the awards. Yeah. Congratulations to our winner. To those who didn't get an award, please don't think our podcast wasn't special. It definitely was. It just hit me differently than these did. And these were really memorable. These were people who I've engaged with after the fact, still engage with. So I really do appreciate that. And I do want to give a big shout out to Victor and the Liquor Talks podcast, if I'm correct. I want to say, or is it Liquor Pours? I think it's Liquor Talks. But shout outs to Victor. Victor was one of my first guests who went forward and really gave me the dexterity to go forward and continue on with a season 5 and now a season 6. Victor made sure that I was able to go forward and not only learn about platforms. Like, I feel like Victor taught me everything within going forward in dealing with this. And I feel like that is a thing because beforehand, I didn't know about Riverside. Beforehand, I didn't know there was a virtual way besides Google Meet or Zoom where you can go forward and talk with people. And then the platform records. And then you have the option for script. And then you have the option to explore audio and video. So I was really thankful for Victor. So, Victor, the award you get is just for biggest MVP. Because without you, we wouldn't have been here. We wouldn't have been co hosting. Victor was also one of the first people who reached out in reference to be a co host and also had me on his show. So, Victor, you get the MVP award. I really appreciate you. I didn't forget you. I just wanted to, of course, give you your own separate shout out because without you, really, I would not be here. So I just want to thank all the guests who jumped on season 5. I'm really excited for season 6, and I'm hoping for an even bigger repertoire of guests on the request list. As always, again, you guys, thank you so much for always listening to the Chantizzy podcast. Again, this is my 7th year doing this. I'm just blessed and highly favored, very thankful. I'm excited to see what year 8 will entail, or year 10, year 15, if I'm even still doing this, which I think I will because I love it. But yeah, thank you again. And if you're interested in being on season 6 of the Chantizzy podcast coming back this fall, please send us an email at chantizzypodcast@gmail.com. That is CHANTIZZYPODCAST@gmail.com. Or it is THECHANTIZZY podcast, PODCAST.1 at gmail.com, or send us a DM at Chantizzy Podcast on Instagram, on X, the Chantizzy Podcast on Facebook, Chantizzy Podcast on Threads. Just send us a little note, say hi, tell us about your goals within life. Let's sit down and talk. Let's have a fun conversation. Let's have people learn more about you. And yeah, super excited for season 6. And I'll see you guys all next season. Thank you so much for making season 5 a success. And I can't wait to see you guys in the fall. Love you all. And as always, it's Tizzy time.